Jack Shaw, who this time next week will be rolling into London as the tank sets sail, or not sets sail, but gets on the move for UFC London, where he'll be facing Timur Valiev. Jack, great to sit down and chat. How are things at you today?
Yes, Mike, very good, thank you. Obviously, fight week's almost upon us. The hard work's done, so just get the weight off now, and then obviously go out there and do the enjoyable part.
Of course. Let's talk about the fight, the Valiev fight first and foremost. Obviously, there's been a bit of concern that some of the Russian fighters wouldn't be able to get over to the country. I guess, how stressful of a time has it been for you with this? I believe he is in the country now, but how stressful has it been for you?
Yeah, it was a little bit on edge for a week or two. Obviously, I'm very used to pullouts and stuff like that, but there was no pullout all the way through this one. I kind of thought this might. I think Hunter Azu is the only other guy I've had in the UFC that hasn't been chucked in not last minute or hasn't been the original opponent. And I thought fucking hell, it's looking good. He's obviously COVID's over. The lockdown stuff and all that over here is gone. The flight restrictions are gone with America and stuff. I know he trains in America, and then obviously this war between Russia and Ukraine kicked off, and I've seen stuff on Twitter about how the UK were banning Russian teams and stuff like that. So I was on the blower straight away to my manager. He was none the wiser than me. He was like, look, I'm going to speak to him, and he spoke to UFC, and they said, look, we will put a contingency plan in place. So that did ease the nerves a little bit. But look, he's here now, and that's all that matters. And I'm glad he's managed to get over here safe without any hassle, hopefully. And it's great to look forward to be able to fight with him in a week's time.
You obviously originally matched with Umar Nurmagomedov. What happened with that fight? And were you impressed by his last performance a couple of weeks ago over Brian Kelleher?
Yeah, I was impressed. Kelleher's a tough guy. He's stylistically, it was a favourable matchup for Umar, I think. We know what Kelleher brings to the table, and we know what Umar brings to the table. But you cannot be, to take a guy like Kelleher out in a round who's been in there with some really tough guys, is impressive. But yeah, that one was a bit of a strange one because obviously, so we got matched up in November, and I think it was November because I was just coming towards the end of my injury, and they offered us the date for February. And, my man's like, will you be able to do it with your shoulder? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go into training next week. And I'm going to go into training in December. And I'm hoping it'll be good. Then, obviously, the rumours of UFC London and the date started to get thrown in the mix. So we had another call saying, look, they want to push it back to the London card, which made sense. I'd rather fight in London than Vegas, obviously. So we signed another contract. The fight got leaked out. And then within 2 days of it being leaked out, I had a text to say, Umar's out. We can't get into London. Valiev's in. So it wasn't a case of he pulled and we was waiting on another name. It was like, this guy's out and this guy's in. So I know Khabib and guys on his side have said they're not sure why the fight got pulled. But, I can only go on what I've been told. And my manager told me that it was travel or visa issues, something like that. But, I'm sure we'll meet down the line. Of course we will. He's very young like myself, he's got a good record, and he's working his way up as well. So I'm sure in time we'll meet. It'll just be with better records and higher stakes on the line, I'm sure.
In terms of replacements and kind of pullouts, that's probably best case scenario with the short turnaround between the two, because you haven't prepared for so long for one guy and then had to kind of change it up for Valiev. So is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, that's it. I hadn't even done any sort of specific training for Umar. In my mind, I think London works out about 11 or 10 weeks after Christmas. So in my mind, I was coming back from injury. It was sort of ease yourself in, tick over through December, just get a little baseline of fitness, enjoy your Christmas, and then it hard in the new year. So I hadn't done any sort of pre-camp prep or watched any. I've seen him fight, obviously, but I hadn't watched no footage in detail, and I hadn't sort of started bringing in sparring partners to emulate him because he was so far out. So, like you said, if you're going to have a change of opponent, then to have it that far out from the fight is what you need and what you want. So, thankfully, there wasn't no time sort of wasted preparing for him. And then we had a guy, like I usually have, chucked in a week before, with a different name. But, it wasn't a bad one.
What are your opinions on Valiev as an upcoming opponent, and what is the key focus been for this camp going into this matchup?
Yeah, he's very good. He's a very good striker. That's his bread and butter. Obviously, he can wrestle, being from not just Dagestan, but obviously, he trains with guys like Frankie Edgar, Mark Henry's his coach, trains with all those guys over there. So we know what he brings to the table in that department. Yeah, he's very good everywhere. He's a little bit like myself. He's an up-and-comer. A lot of people are high on him. And he's had one loss I know it wasn't classed as a loss, but it was a loss in the UFC. But, up until the point where he got sparked, he was dominating that fight. So he's a very tough opponent, but he's someone I don't look at him and sort of think, I'm going to have my work cut out. Of course, it's going to be a tough fight, but I'm very confident going into it. And he fights well when he's dictating the pace, dictating the range, dictating the fight as a whole. So obviously, without giving too much away, it sounds cliche and it sounds obvious to say, but the game plan is almost, fight my fight, but just whatever I'm doing, make sure I'm dictating, make sure I'm setting the pace and I'm not letting him get too comfortable, because he's very good at nicking rounds. He's active. He's not the biggest hitter in the world. He obviously can dig. He's an explosive guy, but he likes to score his points, get in and out with his flashy kicks and his overhands and stuff like that. So I just got to settle him down early, get into my rhythm, and I got to let him worry about dealing with me as well, not just be worried about dealing with what he brings to the table. There's things he's going to be looking at in my game that's obviously going to influence his game plan and then the way he fights as well. So I'm not too focused on any specific area. I'm just going to go out there, fight my fight, but make sure I'm the one in charge and in control.
You mentioned there about fighting your fight, and I remember after the last win, the Sholanan win, I saw a lot of comparisons to you and GSP. I've seen that comparison come up online quite a lot. Now, that must be quite a humbling comparison between you and one of the GOATs, but do you kind of see that comparison in the way you fight to the great Georges St Pierre?
Yeah, it's very high praise, isn't it? And I grew up watching GSP. He's one of my favorite fighters. Someone if you ask me who the greatest of all time is, I'd say GSP. In my opinion, I know it's not set in stone, but so to be compared to him by someone like Michael Bisping and I've heard Felder do it in the past is obviously a little bit mind blowing. Really, it doesn't seem real. I can't see. I've never tried to emulate his style, other than I always remember watching George as a kid, thinking, he's just so good everywhere. If he fights an elite wrestler grappler, then he'll outstrike him. If he fights an elite striker, then he'll outgrapple him. Or even when he's fighting these elite strikers, he's capable of holding his own. And same with the grapplers. So the only thing I sort of try to emulate is trying to make myself as good as I can be in every area. Not have any weak spot. I wouldn't say I try to copy his style and the way he fights, but the one thing I did take from George years ago as a kid was, to be the best in the world, you've got to not just be the best at one discipline. You've got to be good everywhere. What's the saying? Jack of all trades, master of none, and that's why I like to consider myself as, we've all got strengths and where we prefer the fight to be, but I do consider myself, elite in every area. Could I go and box an Olympic level boxer? No. Could I go roll with an ADCC grappler? No. But could I strike with him in an MMA cage or grapple with him in an MMA cage in an MMA fight? Then 100%. So that's why I tried to emulate from him, But again, any comparison to someone like that is obviously, compliment that I'm more than happy with.
I had a little bit of a look as well at the odds for this fight, and this is the first time I can see for about 4 or 5 years you've been the underdog, Jack. I think it goes back to, a Cage Warriors fight, eight on to pop or someone like that. I can't quite remember. What do you make of being the underdog? Because you've been favoured in probably the last half a dozen to 8 to 10 fights. What does it have any effect on you? Do you know anything like that going in?
No, it doesn't bother me. I mean, all my mates are rubbing their hands together like that, and they're all about to bet big. Usually they bet on me, all my friends, and they got to bet the method and the round to make any sort of money. Whereas now they might just be able to go straight win and get a nice little earner for the after party. But look, it doesn't bother me. It to be honest, it just shows how good of a level that Timur is to be in with me and to have me as the underdog. And look, I always say it, I fight best when the better the opposition, the better I fight. And I've proved that over the years, through the Cage Warriors ranks, even in the UFC. Every time I've had a step up, I've always rose to the occasion. So it doesn't affect me mentally. I don't look into it. It's MMA at the end of the day. There's elite level guys that get picked as the underdog. So it's one of them ones. If you're gonna bet on me, it may be a night to make some money, some good money for a change, rather than have pennies back.
I did also have a look as well, and one thing that kind of surprised me on your record is you've only actually fought in London once. which is quite a strange thing for a Brit. Normally, that's where a lot of the big shows are held. So I believe that was the Vaughan Lee fight, Cage Warriors on the come up in Cage Warriors. What are your memories of fighting in London in that fight?
Yeah, I was very fortunate, obviously, being kind of like, even from my second pro fight, I was almost like the poster boy for Welsh MMA for Cage Warriors. So obviously they wanted to use me to sell the arenas in Wales, and I preferred fighting in Wales. Obviously, it's nice to only have to drive half hour to the venue, and sleep the night before the fighting house. But when I fought Vaughan Lee, I loved it. It was in the Indigo. I had a big crowd come up with me, but the London crowd were great as well. I've got a lot of fans in England and London, and supporters and people who I'm very friendly with. It's not just like because I'm the Welsh guy that they don't want me to win. It doesn't work like that in MMA. It's a little bit different to your football and your rugby. Every sort of English person, or 90% of the English guys I interact with online are genuine supporters of mine. So it was a great atmosphere. It was a great fight with Vaughan, obviously, back and forth. My first real sort of test as a pro. He gave me all the way to go, and it was a memorable night. And the boys loved it. All my mates were used to going to fights in Jack Shaw t-shirts. Now they're up there in fucking blazers and shirts and shoes, ready for a big night in London after. So they're looking forward to it again. But obviously, look, the O2 Indigo and the O2 Arena itself are two completely different things. So to be out just in a massive arena again, a sold out arena against a good level opponent, but obviously to have the home crowd behind me and to feel our atmosphere is what I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah. What do you envisage about this atmosphere? Because generally we kind of see throughout the card a rise in attendance and a rise in kind of fanfare. But I can kind of see this kind of being a bit more consistent, where because we've got all the Brits back to back with their own individual fan bases, it could kind of be more of a consistent level of noise and level of atmosphere. What do you anticipate for this fight?
Yeah, I think it'll be electric from the minute it starts. Like I remember, I went to watch UFC London with my mate Mike, 2017. So it probably would be roughly around 5 years to the date. It was when Jimmy Manuwa knocked out Corey Anderson. Wow. And we had good seats. The UFC sorted Jack Marshman out seats, and he couldn't make it. So we was like, we'll have them tickets. And look, like literally, I think the doors opened at 4:30. We got there around about 5, and it was jam packed in there from before even the first fight come on. And like you said, the atmosphere, even for the non-British guys, was electric, and it wasn't such it wasn't such a strong British card then compared to this one. There were British guys on there and Irish guys and European guys, but this one, is almost a British guy in every fight pretty much, give or take. So I think it'll be electric from start. Obviously, I think he'll up the ante a little bit when I fight because of the Welsh. The Welsh will be obviously going to be a little bit louder for me than they would some of the other guys. And then obviously you've got people like Paddy and Molly who are going to draw in massive cheers and Arnold as well from the crowd. And Tom. Tom's it's gonna be electric when he fights. So like you said, it's gonna be mental start to finish. I don't think there'll be a dull part in the night. I don't think the crowd will dip in atmosphere. And just through scanning the card, there's some real exciting matchups on paper. So hopefully they warm them up nice for when I get up there, and then I can warm the crowd up nice for the main card.
Who's travelling down from the gym? I know obviously your dad will be in the corner, and probably Carl Parker if memory serves, but the likes of Brett, the likes of Owen Elliott, Scott Pedersen, will they be down and supporting the tank?
Yeah, I think so. Brett's coming up. I think I know a couple of the amateurs from the gym are coming. Levi, Rowan, and Scotty are coming, I'm sure, and it's quite a few from the gym, to be honest. Like my father-in-law and my brother-in-law, they train at the gym, and we got a couple of the lads who I've managed to help out get a few tickets. So yeah, it's going to be a good number from the gym, but also my mates as well. It's great that my mates have managed to get tickets. They'll probably be close to 1,000 Welsh there, to be honest. Like if they could have given me, I don't know, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 tickets to sell, I would have shifted them all, no problem, to the Welsh. So I know a lot of people missed out, but a lot of people have managed to get their tickets as well. And I think the after party afterwards is obviously they've made a day of it, haven't they? So they're excited. I'm excited. So it's gonna be fun. There'll be plenty of Jack Shaw Army t-shirts flying about there, put it that way, and plenty of Welsh flags.
I did want to mention that after party that I believe Graham set up with yourself, Paddy, Molly, and Jai. Obviously we know Paddy, and to a certain extent Molly, like a night out. So do you have any experiences with them? Any memories of crazy nights out with Paddy or Molly?
Well, it was more of a crazy afternoon. It was obviously we had a bit of a pool party after the last fight out in Vegas because you know, it was a little bit like we didn't go to the clubs or nothing. We got sent back to at the time in Vegas. It was like not like a quarantine, but basically if you left the hotel after the fight, you had to sort of make your own way to the airport. So, you know, after the fight, I remember being in my room, icing my shoulder, and Meatball comes in with a protein shaker full of fucking gin and something, and she was like, "Have a swig of that, lad." And I thought, "Oh fuck me, it's gonna be one of them nights." And we had a bit of a party down by the pool. Like it was me and obviously my team, Meatball, Paddy, you know, Paul, Ellis, all them guys, and we had a good swig. To be fair, my coach Carl, him and my teammate Levi, they got abs. Like I had a couple of drinks, but they got absolutely smashed. Like they were the next day, like flying home. I've never felt so sorry for someone in my life. Carl was absolutely wrecked. He was being sick all day, and I was like, that's what happens when you try and keep up with the Scousers. So yeah, we had a good night, to be fair. Like Henry Hoof and all those guys come and joined us, a couple of UFC staff. So I call it a pool party. It was a party by the hotel pool. You know, it wasn't quite a Vegas pool party like everyone imagined, but I'm sure the after party will be a level again. I know Molly and Paddy will be in their oil. So hey, look, a nightclub full of Scousers, Brummies, and Welsh. What could possibly go wrong?
It's a scary concoction, that, Jack. I did want to mention as well your vlog series that's come out, London Calling. I believe the next episode is 7 p.m. tonight.
Tonight. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that and kind of the decision to document this fight camp.
Yeah, so I sort of dabbled with YouTube a little bit last year and just fell off the wagon. You know, it is like it's tough when you're like, you know, trying to film yourself with a GoPro and you kind of run out of ideas. Whereas I've linked up with Joe, who runs the Experience Reel podcast in Crickell. So shout out to Joe and the Experience Reel, and he's really good. You know, I put a little post on Instagram saying, look, is there any videographers out there? You know, with me with some prices and stuff. Because I wanted to document this camp, obviously being in London and being the first one back for me with a crowd and a big fight. And Joe got in touch. I was like, look, I sort of dually edit into my podcast. I've got a little bit of experience in filming and stuff. I'd be happy to do it. So we managed to bang out a few episodes. You know, people seem to be enjoying them. And yeah, third one's out tonight, 7 p.m. And obviously I'm going to try and get Joe won't be with me fight week, but he's coming down tomorrow. I know Monday's technically fight week, but I mean up in the hotel. But he's going to be with me tomorrow. We're going to try and get a little bit. I'm going to try and do a little bit on my phone, on my GoPro of fight week. But I am pretty fucking useless, to be honest, fight week when it comes to filming and documenting stuff. So, but I'm going to do my best, and we got plenty planned for after the fight as well of stuff we can do. So, yeah, I'm enjoying it. You know, it's always a little bit easier when someone's filming you because you haven't got to worry about, right, should I speak to the camera now or should I film it? You know, I just say to Joe, just keep the camera on. Grab what you think will work and what doesn't, we can bin. And, you know, so far, so good. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to being consistent with it and hopefully, you know, keep the ball rolling with it. It's quite an enjoyable thing to do. It's good memories to look back on as well. Yeah,
100%. For one final question, let's turn back to the fight at hand. Jack, I don't want to ask for a prediction because it's the most boring question that you guys get. But what are the goals for 2022? What do you want to accomplish in this calendar year?
You know, everyone knows that if I win this fight, I say should because you never know, but I should be in a position to fight for a ranking spot. And, you know, that's obviously the ultimate goal this year, get in the rankings and stay in the rankings. I'd love to have 3 fights. I'd love to go back to Abu Dhabi and fight again, you know, but experience it now where we're not quarantined in a room for fucking 10 days, you know, where we can enjoy it. You know, it really is paradise out there, but we didn't get to see a lot of it last time. So it'd be great to go out there and fight again. But yeah, 3 fights and obviously make sure by the end of the year I'm in those rankings.
Well, that's a perfect way to end, and I think it all starts on Saturday night. It feels, I don't know if you'd agree with this, but it feels like it's been a long time coming. That the rumours of this card and worrying that would the restrictions allow, and then obviously the Ukraine-Russia situation with yourself, but thankfully we're here, and I can't wait to see you back in action come Saturday night.
Third time's the charm, isn't it? This is the third UFC London I was meant to be on, so fingers crossed. You know, no bullshit this week, no fucking lockdowns, no wars, no nothing. Let's all we're asking for 6 days of nothing to happen so that we can get this fight done.
Well, the other thing is as well, if you actually look at the card, there's been a couple of pullouts, but they've all kind of been on the none of the Brits have pulled out yet, as far as I can see. I think Nathaniel Woods, he had his opponent changed last week. Gunnar Nelson's Claudio Silva's out, so technically he's a British fighter, but with the card's kind of been able to be kept intact, which I think is very lucky.
Yeah, it stayed strong. You know, when they announced it, I was thinking, you know, they just kept reeling off these fights. And I was like, fucking, like, they're going for it. You know, with the British guys, they're relentless. They obviously want to stack it. They want, you know, and it makes me wonder, like, they could probably go bigger. I mean, look how fast the tickets sold out. I know, obviously, I don't mean like Wembley and stuff like that, but I know places like you'll know better than me. I'm sure like the Spurs Stadium and stuff like that got roofs on, and I know they don't really want to do outdoor stadiums, but there's plenty of other options. So hopefully, you know, if it's a great card, great fights, it'll entice the UFC to come back to the UK maybe another once. You know, let's have 2 or 3 a year rather than just the one, and everyone's clamoring and fighting to get on the card. You know, especially with like Paddy and that now in Liverpool, that's an option. You know, I'd love to bring it to Wales, but there's the arena issue at the minute. We got to get an arena sorted, but there's plenty of options out there, I'm sure. So fingers crossed, it's a great night, great fights, and yeah, we get to entice them back.
Look, and Paddy's still you know, proclaiming that he wants that Anfield fight. The way that man can do things in terms of his career, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets it one day. But I would presume you wouldn't mind being on that card in front of 55,000 drunk Scousers.
100%. Like, fucking, I remember I went to watch Paddy and Fishgold fight when they first fought for the belts in Cage Wars in the Echo, and I was like a 2-0 2-0 pro at the time, and I remember looking around thinking, this is fucking insane. You know, the atmosphere here, and they, looking back, it reminds me awful lot. It's very similar to like the Dublin cards and the Ice Arena cards. So of course I'd love to fight in. Who wouldn't want to fight in a football stadium? You know, my old man's a Man United supporter, so I'm not sure how he would feel about it being in Anfield, but I'd be happy to fight in any stadium around the world, especially an iconic one like that. So if he can do it, you know, and I'm not, there's the way he's going is, and the pull he's gone, and the star he's looking like he's going to become, there's no doubt between him, Darren, Tom, and Molly, and myself that we can get it done. So, you know, let's keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah. Well, look, mate, it's always a pleasure catching up. Very much thank you for your time so near to the fight. Anything you want to say, sign off with sponsors, the floor is yours.
Yeah, obviously, just thanks to my team, my family, my missus, my mother, my sister, everyone who puts up with my bullshit in fight camps. Nearly at the end now. And all my sponsors, they're all over my socials. Go and check them out. And obviously, don't forget the YouTube video tonight. London's Calling, episode 3. Jack Tank Show on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, because the more subscribers that we get, the more content we can put out. So yeah, other than that, I just look forward to seeing everyone on Saturday.